Welcome everyone to our Citizenship Ceremony this Australia Day. It's hosted by the Rotary Club of Brisbane Inner North, and I'm the current president of the club. My name's Robert Cooper. I'd like to acknowledge our VIP guests. First, a federal member for Brisbane, Trevor Evans. And also our local councillor for the Marchant Ward, Fiona Hammond, Councillor Fiona Hammond. And Trevor Evans will be our presiding officer today. But before we commence our ceremony, I'd like to introduce to you Songwoman Marucci from the Turrbal people, who will shortly perform a Welcome to Country. Australia's story began around 60,000 years ago, and for this reason we are so honoured and privileged to have the highly esteemed Songwoman Marucci perform our Welcome to Country today. She is the songwoman and lawwoman of the Turrbal people, the original inhabitants of Brisbane. She is a direct descendant of Ducky Yucca, chief of the Old Brisbane tribe. She has received many awards both in Australia and overseas, including an honorary senior fellowship of the University of the Sunshine Coast in 2000 for her outstanding and sustained contributions to the community. We are honoured for Songwoman Marucci to perform the Welcome to Country.
Welcome to Brisbane in the language of our Turrbal people. My name is Marucci Baramba, which means the black swan from those people who sing up the wind. Painting on my face represents the black swan, and the painting on my cloak represents the black swan. When we do a Welcome to Country, that is done as a blessing of the gathering in a song. I will ask that that part, because it's a sacred song, not to be videos, but we don't have problem with stills. It's mainly because the song is sacred. Just a little bit about myself, as already mentioned. I'm actually from the Turrbal people, but I actually come from one of the largest Aboriginal communities in Australia, and it's up near Kingaroy. It's called Cherbourg Aboriginal Community. In historical times, it was called Baramba Aboriginal Reserve. Just a little bit of peep into the window of history also of Queensland. In historical times, all Aboriginals were rounded up and put onto reserves or church missions, and the whole purpose of that was mainly to protect us because of the culture clash that happened at the time of British colonialism here in Queensland, and there was a lot of culture clashes that became more second best in most situations, that our population had decreased, so Queensland government had to bring in laws so that we as a species of humanity could be kept protected, and that is why where I come from, a lot of people, different tribes were taken there, and me myself, I'm very multi-tribal. Turrbal people of Brisbane is one of them. It's because those communities gradually became melting pots of different tribes. So we're generally multi-tribal by the time you've got to, that started at the turn of the 20th century, so by the time you got to the middle of the 20th century, mentioned, some of those tribes started mixing, but initially they kept in their own little societal groups and gradually they came together. So that's just our history. So besides being Aboriginal, I'm also multi-cultural genetically. I have an ancestor who was a convict. He arrived in Australia back in 1816. It was a naughty boy down in Sydney, so they chuffed him off here to Brisbane and Moreton Bay, because normally that's the second place you get sent. And if you're even naughty there, they'll send you over to Norfolk, because you can't run away from there. Norfolk Island is the ocean all around. So also have a convict cultural, the Turrbal people, the surviving Turrbal people also have a connection to that colonial history here in Brisbane. And when I say survival, we were actually documented as being extinct or on the verge of extinction because of the culture clashes that happened way back then. And that happened in 1861. That's when people said, oh no, we've got to do something about saving these people. So now you've come to Australia, and I hope you have a wonderful time, and you're welcome here. And I hope I received here. I'm looking forward to the time in history, 50 years down the road, when people will be saying, oh yeah, Australia is the best place for having respect for one another and their cultures, because I think our society is one that wants to embrace that thinking. And my multi, I forgot to mention, yes, that convict ancestor used to draw up the maps under the first surveyor in Brisbane here. He was actually from India, had southern Indian and Ceylonese origins. My father's grandfather was actually African American that came to Australia during the gold rush. People came from all over the world then. So, and of course, like most East Coast Australians, Aboriginals, we all got a bit of British in us, some 1/4 British. Sounds like breakfast cereal, but we would like to extend our appreciation to the organisers for having us here in this capacity today. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon Marucci Marumba. I'd like to acknowledge the Australian Government for assisting us with our ceremony here today through the National Australia Day Council. Australia Day is a time to reflect, respect and celebrate. And I can reflect back to my past as I'm too an immigrant. I came to Australia as a 6-year-old in 1968 from England. That would have beaten everyone if that day. And I became a citizen in 1974. My parents were 10-pound Pongs. As I grew up, I questioned their decision to come to this country, and I'm very glad they did. Despite the teasing, the having a funny accent and skin that burnt within 5 minutes of being in the sun, and getting used to the funny words that Aussies use, as we know as the lingo, I found this to be a country that I could not be happier living in. It is not perfect, it has its faults, but I have watched over my 50 years here many people making it a better country as we travel the journey of life. So there's many people that make up this country that are immigrants or children of immigrants. So I thank you all for choosing to come and live in this country and making it an even better place to be with you being here. I also encourage you all to give back to your community as much as possible. This is what our Rotary organisation is all about. We're here to serve and change lives for the better. However, there are many organisations needing volunteers and your help. I encourage you to participate and support them, for it's these things that will make our country an even better place. Now about Australia Day. And Australia Day on the 26th of January is an opportunity for all Australians to come together as a nation to reflect, respect and celebrate. We reflect on our history, its highs and its lows. We respect the stories of others, and we celebrate our nation, its achievements, and most of all, its people, and especially our First Nations people. This Australia Day, we can pause to reflect on the past year and recognise the resilience of our people and the courage and selflessness of those who worked on the front lines fighting fires and dealing with floods and responding to a global pandemic. Australia Day 2022 to see more than 12,000 people from over 130 nations become Australian citizens. One of the many citizenship ceremonies that are taking place across the country. Australians can be proud of who we are as a nation. Our Australian values unite us, and welcoming migrants from across the world makes us stronger. All Australians are encouraged to celebrate our National Day and share what Australian citizenship means to them. Australian citizenship ceremonies are an important part of our nation's celebrations and hold special significance for those becoming citizens and the broader Australian community. Traditionally, more people become citizens on Australia Day than any other day of the year. Australian citizenship is a privilege offering enormous rewards. By becoming an Australian citizen, people join a unique national community. Our country has been built on the contributions of our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and migrants from all over the world. I encourage you to share your citizenship story on social media. You can show your support or celebrate your conferral by adding an Australian citizenship frame to your profile. Alternatively, you can take pictures with a Facebook citizenship camera effect. In Facebook, search for the Australian Department of Home Affairs Facebook page, and also check out our Rotary Facebook page for more details. Pictures of today should be on our Facebook page, Brisbane Inner North Rotary, by this Sunday, the 30th of January. Social media is a great channel through which to express your pride in Australian citizenship and your support for new Australians. And don't forget to use the hashtag Australian Citizenship and tag the Australian Department of Home Affairs at Oz Home Affairs. We also advise that new citizens may enrol to vote by completing the electoral enrolment form given to them, which I think most of you have already. Now today we have some music supplied to us, and I'd like to ask our resident musician, John Ritchie, to play a song for you.
Thank you, Robert. I came from the dreamtime, from the dusty red soil plains. I'm the ancient heart keeper, the keeper of the flame. I stood upon the rocky shores and watched the tall ships come for 40,000 years and more with the first Australian. I came upon the prison ship tied down by iron chains. I fought the land and cheered the lash and waited for the rains. I'm a settler, I'm a farmer on this dry and barren run. A convict, then a free man, I became Australian. We are one, oh we are many, sing folks, and from all the lands around me come, who share a one dream and sing with one voice. I am you, we are Australia. I'm a teller of the stories, I'm a singer of the songs, an Albert and I'm a jeerer, and paint those ghostly guns. I'm Clancy on the overflow, Nick Kelly on the run. I'm the one who was Matilda, I am Australian. I'm the Hopkins from the desert, I'm the black soil from the plains, I'm the mountains and the valleys, the drought and the flooding rains. I'm the rock, I'm sky, and the rivers where they run, the spirit of this great land. I am Australia. We are one, but we are many, and from all the lands on earth we come. We'll share a dream and sing with one voice. I am you, we are Australia. I am you, we are Australia.
Now I'd like to introduce our presiding officer, Trevor Evans MP, the member for the federal seat of Brisbane, who will now conduct the formal part of this meeting.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, everybody. I think it's only appropriate that I start my remarks this morning by thanking both Robert and all of the volunteers and members of the Rotary Club of Inner North Brisbane for organising this event every single year, as they always do. A round of applause for Rotary. May I also add my acknowledgements to the traditional custodians of this land, the Turrbal people, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, past and present. And thanks to Marucci for her always powerful welcome to country. Can I also add my acknowledgements to Councillor Fiona Hammond for joining us here this morning? And can I extend especially a very warm welcome to all of our conferees this morning who are here to become our newest Australian citizens. As the MP who represents Brisbane in the Federal Parliament in Canberra, I'm very honoured to be here to welcome you here this morning on behalf of the Commonwealth Government, but also as a local resident who lives not too far away in this wonderful community here. As Australians, we're often reminded by events, and that's particularly true, I suppose, of the last couple of years, that here in Australia, we've got a few things going right for us. Something pretty special going on here. By most measures, economic, health, environmental, democratic, Australia scores pretty well compared to many other countries. And those comparisons, of course, do continue to be aptly made through these challenging times in a global pandemic. In Australia, we have the custodianship of both a country and a continent, and that confers on us significant benefits, but also significant responsibilities. This is the oldest continent on the planet, and it's home to the oldest continuing cultures on Earth, of which we're very proud. And at the same time, this is actually, despite being a relatively new country officially as Australia, it's one of the world's longest continuing democracies. And it's possibly the most successful multicultural and immigration-focused country around the globe. New citizens are so important for our community here in Australia so that we can share the responsibility as the custodians of Australia's heritage and our institutions, and to ensure that future generations get to inherit that which we love. So to all of our new conferees for citizenship, we welcome you with arms wide open, as we've welcomed so many before you who've sought out the promise of our lucky country, the freedom and the opportunities and the space to work hard and make something of ourselves. Rob mentioned before in his remarks earlier the benefits of immersing yourself in the local community here in Brisbane and becoming involved in some great community organisations just like Rotary. And I wanted to reinforce that message. In choosing to become an Australian citizen, of course, you've also made a very wise decision to choose to live in the very best community and the very best city here in this great country.
Yes.
This will be an Olympic city in 10 years' time, and we look forward together to the strong future that Brisbane offers all of us, which will be the strongest future possible if we all roll up our sleeves and contribute however we can to the community groups and the service organisations, charities and other groups that make our local community here so amazing and so strong. Now, my first job here today is to read the Minister's message to our new citizens. So this citizenship ceremony is conducted under the authority of the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship, Migrant Services and Multicultural Affairs, the Honourable Alex Hawke MP, and this is the Minister's message. Today, you become an Australian citizen. We are immensely proud of what we've achieved as a nation, and we welcome you in joining us. Our history and culture has been forged over thousands of years, first through Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and more recently with people from all corners of the earth. Australia has succeeded as a nation by embracing and defending our national values. We believe in the freedom and dignity of each individual, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of association. We value the rule of law, democracy, and equality of opportunity for all people. We stand with other democracies in helping to defend and protect these hard-fought freedoms. We are a resilient nation. Drought, bushfires, floods, and a global pandemic have challenged our normal way of life. Our social cohesion, a key strength of Australia, has never been more important. Upon taking the pledge of commitment today, I call on you to embrace these values and the rights and responsibilities of Australian citizenship and play an active part in your local communities to build an even stronger nation. On behalf of the Australian Government, I congratulate you on reaching this very special day. Signed, the Honourable Alex Hawke MP, Minister for Immigration, Citizenship, Migrant Services and Multicultural Affairs. I'll now turn to the formal part of this ceremony, which is conducted in accordance with the Australian Citizenship Act of 2007. As part of the legal requirements for today's citizenship ceremony, I'll read the preamble from Schedule 1 of the Australian Citizenship Regulation 2016. The preamble is as follows. Australian citizenship represents full and formal membership of the community of the Commonwealth of Australia. And Australian citizenship is a common bond involving reciprocal rights and obligations, uniting all Australians while respecting their diversity. Persons on whom Australian citizenship is conferred enjoy these rights and undertake to accept these obligations. A, by pledging loyalty to Australia and its people. B, by sharing their democratic beliefs. C, by respecting their rights and liberties. And D, by upholding and obeying the laws of Australia. As such, citizenship is both of value to the individual and to the nation. I'll now ask those conferees who are making pledge number 1, the oath, which is the pledge containing the words "under God," to stand and repeat after me. So please stand, those conferees making pledge number 1. Please note that this is for pledge number 1 only, and I'll call conferees making pledge number 2 in a short moment. If you wish to make the pledge on your holy book, please hold it in your hands now. All of those conferees making pledge number 1, please repeat each line after me. From this time forward, under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Thank you very much. Please be seated. I'll now ask those conferees who are making pledge number 2, the affirmation, to stand. And I'll ask you to repeat the lines after me. From this time forward, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please join with me in applause and congratulating and welcoming our because this is a beautiful, small and local community ceremony here, we now get to do something very special that can't be done necessarily at some of the larger citizenship ceremonies happening around Australia right now. And that is, we can call each candidate up to receive individually their Australian citizenship certificate. So families and friends, please don't be shy. This is the time for taking some photographs. So please, as each person is read out, please come up for some photographs. Learning from previous years, we have a couple of X's marking the spot down here, which are good places for photographs. And it is allowed under our pandemic rules to remove your mask for the purposes of taking such a photograph. So do take your time, but we will try to get through this in relatively efficient order. So be prepared, get your photos out now, and we'll read the list of names.
Now the first person who's receiving this certificate is Janice Mead. Now we're doing a number of family groups here, and the first family is Charlie Sukuramurthy, Zohal Karamurthy, and Samara Mahmood.
Round of applause.
The next family is, and I apologise if I mispronounce your name, Srinivas Origanti, Aniki Origanti, and Kritika Origanti. again, I apologise if I mispronounce your name. The next family is Olu Wanafesu Simi Ositsiyami. Olu Isola Osiyami. Please tell me how close I got. Next we have Anita Pathak and Ojas Badhata Koiki. The next family is Adham Muhammad Rashad Ragab Shabana and Muhammad Rashad Ragab Shabana. Could I have a Rotarian down the front to help for that, please? Our next citizens are Juanita Wanarong and Wachi Lada Sarah. Our next new citizen is Raman Bakeri. Our next new citizen is Carolina De Silva. Next is Hilda Costa. Next is Abigail Jolie. Next is Jason Lador. Next, Alvin Minot. Next, Veronica Ladrano. is Lewis O'Rourke. Our next new citizen is Brenna Silva Andre. Our next citizen is Fraser Sneddon. Our next new citizen is Bruce Sutton. Next is Hayley Taylor. Are there any citizens that we have missed at all? No? Oh, that's great. Has happened in previous years. And in your witness certificates, in your envelope there, you'll see that there's some gift certificates from some of the local businesses in this area. And please use them to help stimulate the local economies in our area. Now, you may have noticed that there's a lady down the front who has been taking all the photos, Anita. And Anita has been doing this for a number of years for us. She comes all the way down from Deception Bay, Redcliffe. Caboolture, oh, it's even worse, isn't it? Caboolture. Further away. And she puts in a lot of work for us, and she provides very professional photos. And our Rotary Club would like to provide Anita with a certificate of appreciation for what she's contributed. Now I'd like to ask Trevor Evans to come back and lead the affirmation ceremony.
Another round of applause, I think, for all of our new citizens. Now that we've witnessed the pledge of commitment made by our new citizens, I'd like to invite everyone to participate in what's known as an Australian Citizenship Affirmation Ceremony. So the Australian Citizenship Affirmation is based on the pledge that our new citizens have just made before us. Participation in the Citizenship Affirmation is voluntary and it carries no legal status. It was introduced in 1999 as part of the 50th anniversary celebrations of citizenship as a way for people who were born in Australia as Australian citizens to be able to make a public pledge of commitment. Those of us who are not yet Australian citizens but feel a strong connection to Australia are also welcome to participate. I'll just ask that you join in from the second line. If you'd like to take part, please stand now and repeat the following lines after me. The words can be found on, I think, some of the paperwork in front of you, but I'll speak nice and clearly and slowly. Okay, everybody standing? Repeat after me. As an Australian citizen, I affirm my loyalty to Australia and its people. Whose democratic beliefs I share. Whose rights and liberties I respect. And whose laws I uphold and obey. Thank you, everybody. Now, I might ask that you remain standing now and join us in singing the national anthem. Congratulate again all of our new citizens for being here, and I hope that you and your families have a fantastic fantastic, happy, prosperous and successful future here in Australia, and I bid you all the best of enjoyment on your first Australia Day as new Australian citizens. The Rotary Club of Brisbane Inner North now invites you to stay and enjoy morning tea with us, and drinks are also available downstairs. Would you, at this moment, join with me in congratulating, through applause, Rob and Brisbane Inner North Rotary for organising the and keep applauding for Marucci Solomon for being here, and Robin Patrick and Councillor Hammond for joining us as well. Thank you everybody, have a wonderful day, happy Australia Day.